What is going on, everyone? Chris with Journals, Comics, and Pop Culture. Today, I got an awesome video that's probably a couple years overdue because for those that watch my channel, you all know that I'm a huge Adam Warlock fan. Today, we're counting down the top 10 Adam Warlock keys to invest in right now for 2021. This is definitely huge MCU spec ground. We got the teaser some years ago now in Guardians Volume 2. Guardians Volume 3 has been delayed with all that controversy, but we know that Adam Warlock is coming, so I am so excited to get into these books. The way we're going to count them down is, as usual, per my top 10 videos, the lower we get in the countdown, the hotter these books are going to be. So we're looking at current fair market value, and we're going to compare that to fair market value from 5 years ago and see how these books are doing on the market. Now, before I get into the books, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please take some time to do so. Check out all the awesome links below as well. And I do want to let everyone know, if you are in need of supplies, go check out bcwsupplies.com. You can use the discount code JOURNOS and receive 10% off of your orders. And that is any order that you do, no matter how large or small. This code does not expire. You can use it as many times as you want. So if you need bags, boards, boxes, display cases, anything that you need from BCW. I don't promote any product that I don't buy myself, and I absolutely stand by BCW. I've been buying them for decades. So again, use the code JOURNOS, get 10% off of your orders. That link is below as well to their website. All right, let's get into these books. Now, before we get into the top 10, we do have a honorable mention, and that right here is Marvel Premiere issue number 2. Now, this is the first time Warlock is called Adam. Now, I know that Adam Warlock has a crazy history in a lot of books because he was called multiple different things, right? This one is kind of slept on because although it's technically not considered the first appearance of Adam Warlock, which we'll get into later in the list, this is the first time that he is actually called Adam. Basically a decently affordable book that I think is a bit slept on. Let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value, sitting at $216 roughly. 5 years ago, it was sitting at about $190. That's a 14% increase. It hasn't been doing much on the market, but it's still an increase. High Raw has sold for $38. So like I said, decently affordable book. Keep in mind too that high raw doesn't mean high grade. It's just the highest dollar amount sold for a raw copy. 20-cent Bronze Age book with that white cover. Probably pretty tough to find a near mint copy raw. So affordable book that if you don't own in your collection and you're a Warlock fan, or if you're specking on these books, you might want to do some research, see if you can find one for a decent value. All right, let's get in to the top 10. Coming in at number 10 is, yes, folks, this isn't a joke. It's not a gag. Probably my favorite book on the list. Warlock and the Infinity Watch, number 1. Now, for those that watch my channel, you all know that I own like over 20 copies of this book. And it's kind of a joke. It's an inside joke. I always say that, this book isn't really going to be worth hundreds and hundreds of dollars or anything like that. But look, this book made this list for a reason. Now let's look at the numbers and I'm going to explain why. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value, $80. Very, very affordable book. 2018, there wasn't any sales earlier than that. I couldn't get 5 years ago. But 3 years ago, $61. Hey, it's a 31% increase. And look at this, a high raw sold for $20. I remember when I was buying copies of this book in near mint condition for $3. So that is a solid jump. Now, this book is the first appearance of the Infinity Watch, which in the comics is Warlock, Drax, Moondragon, Gamora, Pip, and Thanos is involved there as well. Here's the thing. There's some serious spec value to this book if you could find it for cheap. If this, and again, this is my humble opinion, if the Infinity Stones ever come back into play Now you see what's going on with the multiverse. No spoilers, but you know, if you watch WandaVision, we know what's going to happen in the upcoming No Way Home Spider-Man film, and then of course Multiverse of Madness. Whether it's through multiverse or whether it's just the stones appearing ever again, if they do, I think the Infinity Watch storyline or bringing in Warlock in that Infinity Watch concept would be amazing to be seen on the big screen or in live action. I think it's extremely workable. And look, if that happens, this book is going to catch heat. All right. Now, of course, it's early 90s books. There's a lot of copies out there. That's why I always say I'm not buying multiple copies of this book because I'm going to get rich off of it or retire off it. But look, there is some decent spec value there. All right. And before I go on to number 9, like I always say, I'm not here to tell you all to buy any of these books. I'm mixing my personal opinion with some facts and data, and I want you all to take it in and make sound decisions. If you enjoy the books, enjoy the characters, collect what you love, or be okay with the risk of the investment. All right? Let's move on, though, to number 9 on the list. This one is a bit of a sleeper as well. This is Thor 164. This is technically the first cameo of him. Now, for those that don't know, him was the original incarnation of Warlock before he became Adam Warlock. So first cameo appearance of him, Thor 164. Let's look at these numbers. There hasn't been many sales of CGC slabs on the market. The last one in a 9.6 was a few years ago in 2018. Back then it was going for 226. All right, a couple years before that, it was going for 167. Now, in 2018, that bump could have been because we saw Warlock at the, end credit scene of Guardians Volume 2. But still, that's a 35% bump from there. A recent high raw did sell for $50. Another book, if you could find it for cheap, it's a second best thing next to his first full, right? So cameos are getting more attention as of late. This is one that anything that happens with Warlock, this is another one that I think is going to continue to increase in value once we actually get either him in a trailer or an announcement that he's going to actually be fully in a film, or when we see him on screen. Let's move on to number 8. This is Strange Tales 178. The first appearance of Magus. Now, for those that don't know, Magus is basically an evil, you could say, variant of Warlock. And this is a character that if we see, Warlock fully make his presence in the MCU, hey, Magus could show up as well. Let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value, $375. 5 years ago, $262. That is a 43% increase in value. Pretty solid. High raw, going for $126. Again, that doesn't mean high grade. That's just the highest dollar amount of a sale for this copy in a raw book. Let's move on to number 7 on the list. This is Warlock number 1. This is the origin of Adam Warlock. Beautiful book. I think, what is it? An 8 point, is it 8.0 or 8.5 CGC of this book? Current CGC 9.4 fair market value, $317. 5 years ago, it was sitting at about $215. That's a 47% increase. Solid. Now, keep in mind, too, there's been ebb and flow in a lot of the Warlock books, because when we got the sneak peek of him in a few years back, in Guardians Volume 2, there was a lot of hype, but then with the delay of Guardians 3 and, and then COVID, it's really pushed back the attention of Warlock. But I'm assuming that he might even possibly show up at Thor Love and Thunder. That's a possibility. We know James Gunn is back for Guardians Volume 3. That's being put in motion. So watch for the talk, essentially is why I'm here making this video, right, of Adam Warlock Spec. So high raw, this book, $72. This is probably one of my favorite Warlock books for sure. All right, let's move on to number 6. This is basically where it all begins. The origin of him begins here, and this is the first cameo of the Cocoon. All right, for those that know, Adam Warlock, him, started in a cocoon. Current CGC 9.0 fair market value sitting at $525. 5 years ago, $299. That's a 76% increase in value. Very, very solid. High raw sitting at $204. This book has been consistently moving up. All right, everyone, we are halfway through the list. Next up at number 5 is THOR 166. Now, again, we talk about second best things, right? This is the second full appearance of him. It's also Thor versus him battle. Really iconic Kirby cover here. Another one that has just been picking up steam. Current CGC 9.6 fair market value sitting at $900. 5 years ago, $502. That's a 79% increase. Another solid bump there over the last 5 years. High raw sold for $200 again. A 15 center with that white background. Not sure how high of a grade that high raw was, but still a book that continues to move up. This is one that I recently picked this one up from, I believe it was Monster Comic Shop on IG. Really great Instagram seller. Big shout out to Monster Comic Shop. All right, coming in at number 4 is Fantastic Four number 67. So this is the first full appearance of the him Cocoon. It's still often referred to as a him cameo, but he's still in the Cocoon. Current CGC 9.0 fair market value hitting over that 1K market, $1,080. 5 years ago, $495. That is a bump that's more than doubled in value, 118%. High raw, $453. Again, another white background here. This book has been moving. This is, I would say, one of the bigger ones that has been moving. You know, when you look at the history of Adam Warlock, 67 is the one, as you can see, with the increase in value and just the fair market values that has been sought after. All right, everyone, let's get into the top 3. Coming in at number 3 is Annihilation Conquest number 6. This is the first appearance of a new Guardians of the Galaxy team. All right, this team consists of Star-Lord, Rocket, Quasar, Adam Warlock, Gamora, Drax, and Groot. Now, here's the thing. Here's what we do know about Guardians in the MCU. Volume 3 is going to be James Gunn's last, directing job with that team. We know that the team is going to look different after this film. How different, we don't know, but I am putting some hunch assumptions into a team that could absolutely possibly consist of Adam Warlock and who else here? Quasar. Quasar is another one. If you're specking on cosmic characters, don't sleep on Quasar. All right, but let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.8 fair market value, $269. Again, I didn't find any prior to 2018, but 3 years ago it was sitting at about $122. That is a 120% increase in value. Solid, especially for a modern book. I do believe this book came out in 2008. High raw, sitting at $60. Solid. I do not think I have this one. I really hope to have this one in my collection someday. You guys know me. I want all things Adam Warlock, that's for sure. We're moving on to number 2. These top 2 books, everyone. These are some books. Ready? Here we go. Number 2. Thor 165, the first full appearance of him. So again, let's look at the history. He started out as the Cocoon with the cameo in Fantastic Four 66. Then we get basically a full, quote-unquote, full appearance of the Cocoon in FF 67. Then we get the cameo of him, Venom treatment or Wolverine treatment, right? Wolverine and Hulk 180 treatment of the back page. Here he is in Thor 164. Well, this is the first cover appearance and the first full appearance of him. So this is one of the top big key books for Adam Warlock. That's why it's number 2 on the list. Current CGC 9.0 fair market value, $2,600. 5 years ago, $744. That is a 249% increase in sales, or in value, excuse me. That is huge. Look at this high raw, $1,525. This is that book. It is that book. I was grateful to pick this book up a few years back. I sent it to CGC. I don't even know if I pressed it, but I was hoping to get like a 5.5 or a 6.0 on it. I got a 4.5. Looking back, now that I'm more of a, more savvy with my grading, I definitely think that I could have got a 5.0. I could have cleaned it up a bit, but I'm still happy that I own it, and that's what matters. All right, everyone. Are you all ready for number 1 Adam Warlock books? Like I said, if it was up to me, I'd probably put Warlock and the Infinity Watch number 1 at the top of the list. But no, it is Marvel Premiere number 1. This is the first appearance of him as Warlock. It's truly deemed as the first appearance of Adam Warlock because he really takes up the mantle. It's not even the mantle. It's where he gets transformed into the Warlock iteration, right? But like I said, that, honorable mention book, the Marvel Premiere number 2, is when he actually is called Adam Warlock for the first time. So look at this. Now, let's look at these numbers. Current CGC 9.2 fair market value, $1,335. 5 years ago, $274. That is a 387% increase in sales. That's almost 5 times the value. That is absolutely nuts. High raw, $600. This book came in at number 1 simply because of the price increase. How much this book has increased over the last 5 years. Now let's look back at the number 2. Okay, number 2, this Thor 165, the first appearance of him, first full appearance, is actually a higher value book in terms of dollar amount. But Marvel Premiere number 1 has increased more. So it's arguable when you look at these two books, Thor 165 or Marvel Premiere number 1. I think they're both, really solid when you talk about Warlock. If I had to pick and choose, it's really hard to pick. I think I can assume a lot of people would pick Thor 165 just because that is him. And I don't mean him as in his name. I mean him, the character. It's, the first time you really see him full body, he's in the story. And here he gets changed. High Evolutionary comes in, all this other stuff happens. And, the third behind these two probably would be FF67 just because you get that cocoon in his beginnings in full. So rich, and oftentimes complex and confusing history of Adam Warlock, but that's one reason why I absolutely love this character. There's so many awesome books out there to find. There's a lot of good deals to be found with these books as well, folks. So that is the list today. Before I go, I do want to give a big shout out to my Patreon members and my YouTube channel members, but I also want to let all of you know to leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know what books you have on this list. Let me know what books are on your radar. And hey, look, if there's any books that you thought could have also been on this list, but I'm pretty solid I covered most of them. All right, everyone. Thank you all for watching. Let me give a big shout out to all my Patreon members. If any of you are interested in becoming a Patreon member of the channel, it's only $3.99 a month. Click the link below in the description. It is there. You can see all the extra perks that you get, and you get to help support the channel. So thank you to all of my Patreon members. New members this month, Kenwick and Jordan. Thank you both so much for hopping on in the month of July. And of course, I got to give a big shout out to my YouTube members. You can become a YouTube member by clicking the join button below, and this is only $1.99 a month. You don't get as many perks as the Patreon, but you do get perks. You still get early access. I do special contests for my YouTube members as well, and both members, Patreon and YouTube members, get extra entries into all of my YouTube contests. So big thank you to all of my YouTube channel members as well. Thank you all so much for watching. Again, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do so. Be well, And until next time.